Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and it is I, Imperial Dane, with another Propagandacast for you. So welcome to you all, and let's have some fun, and hopefully learn a thing or two. So, Beaux Lowlands 1 versus 1. I'm sure you are by now a bit familiar with Beaux Lowlands. Of course, if you're not, let's quick go through it. Long winding road. We have this river, which is a particular feature and which usually do tend to end up acting as a natural front for the two sides. We have victory points here, there, and also over there, mostly in the corners, also where you will find most of the fuel and munitions. And well, that's it. Otherwise, I suggest you take a look at some of my other maps or casts on Beaux Lowlands, and let's have a look at the players in the north. We have FMXchina, so I'm pretty sure we can figure out where that person is from, and it's not Canada, but Hauptmann F of the 21st Panzer Division, sent off to fight against the 11th Armoured Division under the Cheezburgler. It seems, apparently having been transferred to the British forces, he is once more off on his quest to burgle cheese from the Wehrmacht or other forces nearby. Quite interesting. We'll have to see what sort of cheese will be liberated here. Perhaps a Camembert. I don't know, I'm not a cheese person. But 11th Armoured Division crashing through the lowlands, perhaps hoping to make their way towards some part of France, perhaps Caen or perhaps somewhere else. But certainly the 21st Panzer Division hopes to block them off and throw them back into the sea. So starting off, we'll probably be seeing the usual Wehrmacht quarter start. There we go. And to the south we'll see Mr. Cheezburgler, Captain Cheezburgler of the 11th Armoured, sneaking off his recon section, while setting up a lieutenant to move out quickly, and then packing up his headquarters command truck. One of the more usual starts you'll see for the British. A bit of early capping power and a bit of early fighting, but not really expecting much fighting right away, and instead hoping to set up in an advantageous position and then locking it down quickly. So we'll probably also see a mortar emplacement afterwards, and quite keen on getting there. We can see numerous times that little flag going down, and we see 3 pioneers going down for the 21st Panzer Division. Tiny little panzer pioneers ready to sneak out and grab some territory before it is too late. Not sure what will come out of the Wehrmacht quarters. Some Chinese characters, and Mr. Burglar not really sure what's going on, and saying he's lagging, some other random chit chat, really nothing spectacular really. Lieutenant setting up this point, and one should note that while the headquarters command truck is moving, there will be no resources except the manpower in, so that's also something you have to take in mind, and of course not go off on huge detours that will take too long. Otherwise you'll certainly be giving not just a advantage in terms of number of troops, but also in terms of resources to your opponent. Grabbing this fuel point to quickly connect to this headquarters command truck as soon as it's going up, and we see a Volksgrenadier team out first for the 21st, charging towards this smaller lowlands area of the lowlands, or apparently just stopping right here at these bushes, overlooking everything, but probably won't be able to see so far, I suspect. I can certainly see that someone's here, but beyond that I'm not entirely sure. Recon section moving out, probably going to set something up, and we see a second infantry section out for the British. And we have the first engagement, recon section versus the Volksgrenadier team. Volksgrenadier team has the advantage since they're light cover and the British were moving towards them, which this does decrease accuracy while they're firing. And we see the second team moving in, Lieutenant taking command of everything, increasing their combat effectiveness. Mr. Cheezburgler apparently complaining about lagging, not really the point here, I think. And we see a Bren carrier being made as well. Volksgrenadier is quite greatly outmaneuvered, suffering heavily, And we see an MG42 team setting up by this small shed. Not entirely who it might have belonged to. Pioneers moving in to take advantage of these suppressed recon section troops, but they are coming under fire from the nearby infantry section under command of the lieutenant, and this Brent carriage is now charging ahead. And we see the MG42 team quickly getting into this shed, but the shed is not providing too much protection, it seems like. In fact, taking a bit of damage, quite a lot, considering that they're supposed to be in a building. Well, that is an interesting thing, now getting fired upon from numerous points. That the amount of protection is in fact a bit dependent on the type of building you're in. So if you're in your troops in a small wooden shed, they're not exactly going to be as well protected as if they were in this really nice brick and stone building. That's something you have to remember. And we see the bike getting on the rear area of the Brent carrier, really doing a lot of damage. And the Brent carrier beginning repairs to try and survive. Nothing else but the bike though to actually damage it. Although now Volksgrenadiers are moving in. And looks like this Brent carrier might get away. In fact, quite fortunately, instead of getting knocked out, so judicious use of the self-repair there. And now turning about to open fire again with its 2 machine guns. Recon section nearby as well to provide support, while a 2nd infantry section is on the move. In the meanwhile, the German 21st Panzer Division has secured the rest of the map, in fact, leaving the British with very little, but at the same time occupying most of the German forces, and in fact inflicting them heavy losses at the cost of very little for themselves. In fact, I don't think they've suffered any heavy losses besides perhaps a man or 2. But they are finally forced to retreat now, although this bike is in quite a lot of trouble and really needs to get back for some repairs, or otherwise it will be lost alongside that MG42 in this small shed. And we can in fact see the MG42 being dropped out there, and the bike just barely makes it back towards friendly lines. And the MG42 opens fire on the Brent carrier, probably from this line of sight provided by the motorcycle. But what is this? Is the Brent carrier trying to knock out the motorcycle, or is it trying to get away? Getting away does seem to be the intention and target. And we see the field support truck is now under construction from the Wehrmacht. We see not a lot of German troops, although they do have 2 Volksgrenadier teams now. But certainly a lot of cost of manpower in the first tier, having already lost 1 MG42 team, and that bike will certainly be out for a bit while it is getting repaired. And we see the MG42 setting up once more in this tiny little shed. I'm not entirely sure that is a good idea, seeing as we've already seen it in fact does not provide too much protection. Infantry section right out in the middle of everything. Another team being suppressed. Looks like they will be forced to retreat en masse. Yes, indeed. They are getting fired upon from all sides and are not able to concentrate fire on any single target. Bike still not getting repaired, and we see some upgrading or research going on here. Probably going to be the skirmish phase. Question is though, will we see a Krieg barracks, or will he be going straight for the Sturm Armory? Only time will tell, but we are seeing a casualty clearing station, which will certainly be good considering how close to the front line it is. And for 50 munitions, I do believe it can heal the troops nearby as well, which is certainly quite useful, and in particular to keeping the lieutenant alive, since he can't actually heal himself and does tend to be a quite exposed target during fighting. MG42 setting up to protect this slope towards the high ground. Volksgrenadiers moving in to support, but not much luck in actually pushing forwards. And we see the first wounded Briton being pulled back to the casualty clearing center. No attempt at actually securing this central point. A bit curious. In fact, you normally see that someone will be fighting over it, or at least going for it. But so far it is in no one's hands. German troops continuing to hold this line on the ridge, foiling another small British attempt at getting closer. The lieutenant is still badly wounded, and we see the Brent carrier still hanging around, albeit quite damaged. And we see a mortar emplacement going up, Certainly going to make things very difficult up here on the high ground. And now we see the Volksgrenadiers charging ahead for some apparent reason. And now getting focused fire upon from all sides. Bren guns in the south and a Vickers and another Bren in the north. Certainly not good, and a very exposed situation. Apparently trying to Panzerfaust the Bren carrier, but most likely will not end well. And there we go, retreating in the nick of time. While this mortar emplacement is setting up, and now we see rifle grenades as well. Blasting the German positions on top of the hill. They really might want to consider pulling back, albeit I'm not entirely sure if they are aware of this mortar emplacement, but I suspect they very soon will be alerted to the presence of it. Rifle grenades continuing, and there we go, the first mortar round. So the German commander will surely be aware that his position is not really going to be very safe for much longer as mortar rounds continue to land among. And there we go, another MG42 gunner down, the others very wounded, and oh dearie me, he did not retreat, apparently trying to set up, and instead lost the MG42 team, and looks like this Volksgrenadier team might be lost as well, unless he gets out of there very quickly. And there we go, British troops continuing without supervision, and thus reluctantly going straight into the heart of the German territory, probably going to straight for this cutoff point and deny them access to this fuel and munitions point. And we see that it went, the 21st went straight for the Sturm Armory, and we'll probably be seeing a Puma then. I can't really imagine much else reason to rush straight for the Sturm Armory, but of course I might be wrong. And we see the British going for the other fuel point, certainly quite keen on denying the Wehrmacht as much fuel as possible. Certainly not a bad idea, always handy to go after the opponent's fuel points. But certainly does not look good for the Wehrmacht at the moment, quite spread out. And already have suffered quite heavy losses, losing numerous Volksgrenadier teams and MG42 teams. Well, one Volksgrenadier team, but that's... well, it did not apparently. I beg your pardon, only MG42 teams, but that's still a lot, considering the effect of them. And we see the first Puma on the field.
Our front lines are collapsing.
And we see the Germans seizing back this fuel point. Not much else. A lieutenant on the high ground, while a Bren gun section in the low grounds are going for these points as well. The British getting a good grip on the eastern half of the map, and the sappers on the field as well, repairing this Bren carrier. It's very nice. And we of course see the captain with his Webley revolver, and a Stuart light tank on the way as well. The Stuart light tank actually being a American tank, but the British made good use of it, although by the time of Normandy it was slowly starting to get phased out by armored cars, and in some cases by Cromwell tanks, which could be used as reconnaissance tanks as well. There we go, and the Puma will run straight into this nasty combo of a Stuart light tank and a Bren gun carrier, in particular if the Bren gun carrier begins using armor piercing rounds, and it looks like it might be. Puma right out in the water, being slowed down.